Welcome to the deep dive. So today we're opening the door on something huge, a real biological revolution. We're talking about targeting aging itself.
Yeah.
And this isn't, science fiction anymore. We've been looking through stacks of investor notes, scientific roadmaps,
Right.
and it feels like this is really happening, clinically happening.
It absolutely is. And our mission here really is to give you the shortcut, cut through the noise, and explain the why, the how, and maybe most importantly, what's actually likely to happen clinically in the next 5 years or so.
Okay.
We're moving past just general wellness stuff.
Yeah.
This is about real pharmaceutical-grade approaches to extend health span.
Healthspan, the healthy years.
Got it.
And maybe the best place to start to show why this matters so much is the economics. It's just staggering.
It really is.
Professor Andrew Scott and David Cinco did this calculation just for the U.S. market. And they found that extending health span, the active, healthy part of life by only 10 years,
Wow.
would create something like $367 trillion in economic benefit.
367 trillion. I mean, it's an astronomical number.
Right.
And the reason it's so huge is not just, saving on healthcare or pensions, though that's part of it, obviously.
Yes, sure. Yeah.
The main driver is boosting productivity, keeping people healthy, engaged, contributing for maybe decades longer. That just rewrites the entire economic equation.
Wow. That number alone should make everyone sit up and pay attention. And the biology behind it, the core idea, is that old age itself is the biggest risk factor for almost everything bad, right? Alzheimer's, cancer, heart disease.
Exactly. That's the fundamental insight driving all this investment.
Yeah.
If you can slow or treat the aging process, you might delay the onset of multiple major diseases all at once, instead of playing whack-a-mole with individual conditions.
Which sounds like the biggest medical opportunity ever.
It is. But, and this is the big but,
Uh-oh.
it brings us straight to the major hurdle. Regulations. Current regulators, like the FDA in the U.S., they don't recognize aging as a disease you can treat.
Ah, so you can't get a drug approved for getting old.
Nope. Not yet, anyway.
Yeah.
You can't submit a drug for approval saying its indication is aging.
So, how do companies get around that? What's the strategy?
You have to use a proxy, a stand-in.
Okay.
So any therapy has to target a specific, recognized disease, one that just happens to be strongly linked to aging. Think idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis, or maybe diabetic eye disease.
I see. So you prove it works for that specific condition, even though the drug might be working on a core aging mechanism underneath.
Precisely. It's a necessary step right now. You fix the aging mechanism to treat this specific disease, and that gets you approval.
Okay, that makes sense strategically. So if these companies need proxies, they must have a map of what aging mechanisms to target. You mentioned this Hallmarks of Aging framework.
Yes, that's the biological roadmap. It's really the foundation for almost all of the therapeutic development in this space. It outlines the core biological processes that seem to break down consistently across species as they age.
Like what sort of things?
Well, the original list included things most people have heard of, like genomic instability, DNA damage, and telomere shortening.
Right, the classics.
Exactly. The field's moving so fast. In 2023, the list was updated, expanded. Now it includes things like impaired autophagy.
Autophagy. That's like cellular cleanup.
Yeah, cellular recycling, basically. When cells get old, they get worse at cleaning up their own internal junk, and that junk builds up, causes problems. And another big one they added is gut dysbiosis.
Problems with gut bacteria.
Yeah, the idea that as you age, the balance of microbes in your gut shifts, and they start sending out inflammatory signals throughout your whole body, like a constant low-level inflammation driven by your gut. These hallmarks give us concrete targets for drugs.
Okay, so let's get concrete then. Where is the investment really focused? You said 3 major targets are getting a lot of attention based on these hallmarks.
Right. Let's dive into those. First up is mTOR signaling.
MTO. Heard of it. It's involved in growth.
Exactly. Think of it as the cell's nutrient sensor and growth promoter. When nutrients are plentiful, mTOR signals grow, divide. But overactivity seems linked to aging problems. So the idea is to inhibit it slightly.
How?
With drugs like rapamycin or similar ones called rapalogs, giving low doses basically tricks the cell into thinking resources are a bit scarce. So it shifts from grow, grow, grow to protect, maintain, repair. More stress resistance, better housekeeping, like activating that autophagy we mentioned.
And is this actually working in people?
Yes, this isn't just lab theory. There was a really key trial using a rapalog. It actually improved immune function in older adults. Specifically, they responded better to the flu vaccine.
Wow, okay. That's a tangible health span benefit right there.
Definitely. And now there are bigger trials like the Pearl trial, looking at low-dose rapamycin in healthy older people, checking safety, and seeing if it moves aging biomarkers in the right direction, potentially as a preventative.
Okay, mTOR inhibition. What's the second big target? You mentioned zombie cells.
Yeah. Cellular senescence. The zombie cell nickname is pretty spot on, actually.
Why zombie?
Because these are cells that have taken some damage, maybe DNA damage, and they stop dividing permanently, which is good. Stops potential cancer.
Hmm.
But they refuse to die. They just hang around.
Okay, so they're just dormant.
No, that's the problem. They're not quiet. They actively pump out this nasty cocktail of inflammatory molecules. Scientists call it the CSP. CSS. Senescence-associated secretory phenotype. Basically, inflammatory gunk that damages all the healthy cells around them. They're actively harmful.
Right, so the goal is get rid of them, clean them out.
Exactly. Using drugs called senolytics. Literally, senescence killers.
And how's that looking in the clinic? Seems pretty cutting edge.
It is, but the clinical data is actually pretty compelling already.
Wow.
For example, an experimental combo, dasatinib plus quercetin, or D plus Q, was tested in patients with idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis, a horrible lung disease linked to aging. And it improved their physical function. Things like walking speed got better. That's a real-world improvement.
Okay, in the lungs? Does it work elsewhere?
Looks like it. There's a company, Unity Biotechnology. They have a senolytic, UBX1325, showed positive results in phase 2 for diabetic macular edema. That's a big cause of vision loss in diabetics.
So clearing these aid cells in the eye helped vision.
Yeah, improved vision seemed to work about as well as the standard treatment, which is an injection, so it validates the approach. Clearing local senescent cells can treat a specific age-related disease. Another perfect proxy.
Okay, mTOR, senolytics. What's the third, maybe most out there approach? You called it epigenetic reprogramming, resetting the clock.
Yeah, this is definitely the most radical, maybe highest potential. It builds on the discovery of the Yamanaka factors, usually called OSKM.
The ones that can turn a regular cell back into a stem cell.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But here, the goal isn't to go all the way back to a stem cell. That would be dangerous, could cause tumors or erase the cell's identity.
Right, that sounds risky.
Very. The key is partial reprogramming. Using these factors, maybe just for a short time, or using only some of them, to kind of nudge the cell's epigenetic state back towards a younger profile. Resetting the epigenetic clock, those chemical tags on DNA that track age, without wiping the cell's memory of what it's supposed to be.
But like rebooting the software without erasing the hard drive.
That's a great analogy, actually, yeah. Clean up errors, restore performance, but keep the essential identity.
Okay. That sounds amazing if it works. Are people really trying this in humans soon?
They are, but very cautiously and in very specific places first. Life Biosciences, for instance, has a program called ER100. They're planning human trials maybe as early as 2025.
Wow.
For eye diseases. The idea is to use a gene therapy vector, like AAV, to deliver some of these factors directly into the retina.
To do what? Regenerate eye cells?
To try and regenerate damaged optic nerve cells, potentially reverse vision loss. The eye is great because it's relatively contained, less risk of things spreading systemically. It's a perfect test bed for something this revolutionary.
Okay, the science is just leaps and bounds. Let's shift gears a bit to the money side. That $367 trillion potential, investors obviously want a piece of that. But how do you even invest in something so complex so early?
You need a really clear strategy. The smart money seems to focus on 4 things: timing, diversification, the underlying science, and support.
Okay, let's break that down. Timing.
Think of the classic S-curve of technology adoption. Longevity science is benefiting hugely from exponential progress in other fields. Genome sequencing costs plummeting from, $100 million down to maybe $100?
Incredible.
And AI suddenly getting really powerful for drug discovery, for analyzing complex biological data. All this creates a compounding effect. The science is accelerating incredibly fast.
No, does that mean it's already overhyped? Is the market ahead of the reality?
That's the key insight for timing right now. Yes, general expectations might be slightly ahead of what's clinically proven today, but that gap creates what some investors call an uncovered investment advantage, meaning it's still complex enough, risky enough, that the big generalist money hasn't flooded in yet and pushed valuations through the roof. There's still an opportunity to get in before the first major clinical successes. Those proxy approvals we talked about make the potential undeniable to everyone, triggering that potential overhype phase.
So get in before the rush. How do they manage the risk until then? You mentioned diversification.
Exactly. You don't bet on just one horse. Investors are spreading bets across the whole ecosystem, typically in three main buckets. First, diagnostics.
Measuring aging.
Yeah, better biomarkers, epigenetic clocks, proteomics. The ultimate dream there is probably a wearable that tracks your biological age in real time.
Wow. A Fitbit for aging.
Kinda, yeah. Second bucket, the biggest one, biotech. This is the actual therapeutics, the pills, the gene therapies, the senolytics, often broken down further by mechanism or time horizon.
Okay. And the third?
Enabling tech. This is the stuff that helps everything else go faster. AI drug discovery platforms like maybe the company's salaries, computational modeling, tools for faster clinical trials.
Got it. Diagnostics, biotech, enabling tech. And the fourth part of the strategy was support. What does that mean?
It means investors aren't just writing checks. They're actively building infrastructure to de-risk development. A prime example is the creation of specialized clinics, like the Healthy Longevity Clinic.
What do they do?
They focus specifically on running early-stage human trials for aging itself, not just specific diseases. They even set up a center in the Bahamas that got the first ever regulatory framework specifically for human aging trials.
Really? Outside the standard FDMA path?
Sort of in parallel, it allows them to gather human data on aging interventions much faster, accelerating the whole field. It's proactive support, building the pathway.
That's incredibly strategic. Okay, let's circle back to the actual treatments, the modalities. We touched on gene and epigenetic therapies with the eye reprogramming.
Right, delivering OSK factors via AAV to the retina. But gene therapy also includes gene editing for damage repair. A company called Verve Therapeutics has Verve 101. It uses base editing, a precise form of CRISPR, to turn off the PCSK9 gene in the liver, permanently lowering bad cholesterol to prevent heart attacks, a huge age-related killer.
And you mentioned a really dramatic example in accelerated aging.
Oh yeah, the progeria mouse study. Hutchinson-Gilford progeria syndrome is this devastating condition where kids age incredibly rapidly due to a single DNA typo.
Right.
Researchers used base editing to correct that one typo in living mice. The result? They extended the mice's lifespan by 2.5 times.
2.5 times longer life.
Healthy life, yeah. Just by fixing that one aging-related gene defect, it's a stunning proof of concept for editing's potential power against aging mechanisms.
Okay, that's the high-tech end. What about simpler approaches? Small molecules, pills.
Yeah, this is where you get potential for massive public health impact because pills are scalable and cheaper. The big one everyone's watching is metformin.
The diabetes drug.
The very same. Super common, generally very safe. It's now the focus of a landmark trial called TAME Targeting Aging with Metformin.
TAME. What's it testing?
They're giving it to about 3,000 older adults who don't have diabetes. And they're looking to see if it delays the onset of a composite of major age-related diseases, cancer, heart disease, cognitive decline, death.
A composite endpoint. So not just a one disease, but a bundle of them.
Exactly, and that's the crucial part. If TAME is positive, if metformin delays this basket of aging diseases, it could provide the precedent the FDA needs to say, okay, maybe delaying age-related multimorbidity is an approvable indication. It could validate the entire field in the eyes of regulators. Huge implications.
Wow. Okay, so TAME is one to watch. Are there other promising small molecules besides repurposed ones?
Definitely. NAD+ boosters are a hot area. NAD+ is this vital molecule for energy metabolism and DNA repair, and levels drop quite significantly as we age.
So boosting it might help.
That's the idea. Companies like Metro Biotech are developing pharmaceutical-grade NAD+ precursors like MIB-626. It's already in phase 2 trials, testing if it can improve physical function, cognitive function, maybe in conditions like early Alzheimer's.
Interesting. Okay, gene therapy, small molecules.
Yeah.
What about cell therapies, using actual cells?
Yeah, that's another major modality. Longeveron is a good example here with their product Lomecel-B.
What is it?
It's basically mesenchymal stem cells, or MSCs, derived from young, healthy donors. So allogeneic off the shelf, not the patient's own cells.
And they're using these young cells for?
They're testing it in older adults with aging frailty, that complex syndrome of weakness, slowness, fatigue. They ran a phase 2b trial.
And the results?
A bit mixed, as often happens, but they saw some clear positive signals, better walking distance, for instance, and significantly a reduction in IL-6.
IL-6, that's an inflammation marker.
A major one, yeah. So it ties back to that idea of inflammaging, the chronic low-grade inflammation that drives aging. These young cells seem to help cool that down systemically.
Okay, so multiple shots on goal, genes, pills, cells. But to know if any of this works quickly, you need better ways to measure aging than just waiting decades, right? Biomarkers.
Absolutely critical. Biomarkers are the key to shortening development timelines from decades down to maybe months or a couple of years for early signals.
What are the most promising ones? Epigenetic clocks.
They're definitely the most famous right now. These clocks look at DNA methylation patterns, those chemical tags on your DNA, which change predictably with age. The Horvath clock, Grimmage clock.
Right.
There was that small but really exciting Trium trial. They gave older men a cocktail, including growth hormone and DHEA, for a year. And their biological age, measured by the Horvath clock, actually decreased by an average of 2.5 years.
Reverse their epigenetic age by 2.5 years in 1 year.
That's what the clock showed. Now, it's a small study, needs replication, but hugely tantalizing.
But do regulators actually accept these clocks yet for drug approval?
Not really as primary endpoints, no. They still rely much more on functional measures, things you can easily see and measure. Frailty index scores, how fast someone walks, their grip strength, things that clearly relate to real-world function and quality of life.
Makes sense. Practical stuff.
But the two aren't separate. AI is coming in here in a big way.
How so?
AI is being used to build much more sophisticated super clocks. They don't just look at methylation. They integrate data from everywhere: proteomics, metabolomics, imaging scans, functional tests, methylation, hundreds of variables.
To get a more accurate picture of biological age.
Exactly. More accurate, more predictive of health outcomes. That integration is where the real power will likely be.
And all this progress, the science, the biomarkers, the AI, it's attracting serious investment now, right? Not just niche players.
Oh, absolutely. The big money and big pharma validation is undeniable now. You see these mega startups launching with huge funding rounds. Altos Labs debuted with $3 billion.
Billion with a B.
Yeah. Ritro Biosciences with $180 million. That scale is just different. And look at Big Pharma. AbbVie just re-upped their partnership with Calico Google's aging research company to 2030. Another $1 billion committed.
Wow.
Novartis actually created a dedicated diseases of aging research unit, and they did a big deal with BioAge Labs, potentially worth over $500 million, specifically to access BioAge's human longevity data for drug discovery.
So the major players are clearly betting this is real.
The institutional commitment is there now. This isn't just speculative venture capital anymore. It's strategic R&D for major pharmaceutical companies.
Okay, so pulling it all together, let's look ahead. Say 5 years out, 2030-ish. What's the realistic clinical picture? Are we all going to be taking anti-aging pills?
Probably not one single pill-labeled cure for aging, no. But what we will likely see are the first approvals for some of these mechanistic anti-aging drugs, but for those specific proxy indications.
Right.
So maybe a senolytic drug gets approved for treating diabetic macular edema, or perhaps pulmonary fibrosis. Maybe an organ-specific partial reprogramming therapy like the eye treatment gets approved for vision loss.
Okay, targeted approvals based on specific diseases.
Exactly. And crucially, if the TAME trial with metformin is positive, we might have that all-important regulatory precedent, proof that targeting a composite of age-related diseases is a valid pathway. That would really open the floodgates for other drugs.
So a major shift from sci-fi to actual clinical tools, treating specific conditions by hitting underlying aging mechanisms.
That's the trajectory. And just think about the ultimate prize here. Even a modest drug, scientifically proven to extend healthy, productive years. Given the market size, basically every adult over 50.
Yeah.
That becomes the biggest blockbuster drug in history. Instantly.
Yeah.
That massive potential, both societal and financial, is why this has shifted so rapidly from, a fringe fantasy to a really rigorous clinical and heavily invested scientific field. The next 5 years are going to be fascinating.